So when is the right time to buy your first commercial mower? This question came up from a subscriber. Forgive me, I didn't write your name down, but I thought it was a great question because many of us find ourselves in that situation. In this video, I'm going to tell you when I think is the best time to get a good commercial mower. Number two, this is the most important part of this video, is that I want to give you a different perspective on making these types of purchases, okay? I think this will be very insightful for you. Let's jump into it. So when to buy your first commercial lawnmower? The short answer is as soon as possible, okay? There's a multitude of reasons for this, but many times people ask, hey John, you started with the Hustler Raptor, that 42-inch residential grade mower. That got your business started for Florida Turf Pros. Why can't I do that? Well, it did. And again, for me, I was kind of just testing the waters there at the very beginning, but I ran into a few issues with that mower. Namely being, I was using that mower like a commercial mower pretty quickly, and it had residential specs, meaning that I was really taxing and wearing out that mower. And here's the thing, I am an advocate for two things for you, okay? The first is comfort and the second is productivity, okay? And we gotta have both of those together. Meaning that if you have comfort without productivity in your mower, like what's the point? Like there's no point in that. Likewise, if you have a mower that is very productive, but it's not comfortable, you're just going to burn out and not have staying power, and that's what we want. So again, I want you to be comfortable and I want you to be productive, okay? Now that we have laid that framework, that groundwork, let's move on to the next part of this equation. Now this is very important, okay? This is a little disclaimer, okay? If you take what I'm about to tell you and you get sloppy with this is where guys screw up and they end up getting in massive amounts of debts. They end up going down a rabbit hole because they start justifying every single purchase with this little perspective that I'm about to teach you. But that is a very slippery slope, and I just want to give you a big word of warning right here, okay? It has to make sense, and you cannot use this to start getting sloppy with your business finances. Consider this, you are needing a mower for your lawn care business, and you look and see, holy cow, these things cost $10,000. Like, I gotta dig myself out of a $10,000 hole to just break even, right? That is a lot of our mindsets. We think that, okay, I'm going backwards $10,000 and then I have to go up $10,000 and earn at least $10,000 just to break even for this lawnmower. That is an overly simplistic way of looking at that purchase, and it is the wrong way to look at that. The cost of owning that piece of equipment, that mower, is actually much less than $10,000, and I want to explain that to you. Suppose you finance this mower for $10,000, okay? You have a $10,000 mower. Now, at any time, you can sell this mower and get out from underneath that debt, meaning that the true cost of this mower is not $10,000. The true cost of this mower is the drop in depreciation and the interest that you are paying on the note of having that mower financed. For example, you have a mower that is financed for $10,000 and you've used it for one season, okay? The value of that mower has dropped down to, let's say, $8,000, okay? You could sell that mower for $8,000 and the cost of owning that mower to you has only been $2,000. Of course, you have to add in whatever interest expense that you're paying on that, but I'm trying to offer a very simplistic way for you to understand this concept. So instead of having to climb out of a $10,000 hole, you don't. You just have to climb out of a $2,000 hole, the drop in depreciation on that asset. Which brings us back to our first point of comfort and productivity. If this mower is going to drastically improve your cash flow, it's going to make you more comfortable and much more productive, and you can cover a spread of $2,000, why in the world would you not invest in this piece of machinery? Furthermore, the purchase of this piece of machinery, it reduces your taxable income. So now you have this $2,000 drop in depreciation that you're having to cover, but it is completely offset by what? By the reduction in your taxable income because you've purchased this equipment for your business. So I need you to understand that concept. That debt, it is a balance sheet item, meaning that in a way, the debt can cancel itself out on your balance sheet. Hang with me. I want you to really understand this. I'm going to give you one more example that I think will provide a little more clarification for you. Okay, guys, what I have done here is just created a very overly simplistic balance sheet for you to understand a concept, okay? On this side of the equation, you have your assets, and here you have your liabilities plus equity, okay? Here's what I want you to understand, okay? Let's say you have cash on hand of $20,000. You got accounts receivable. You have money that's coming in that's due to you from your lawn care clients of $5,000. You have a truck that is paid for. That's worth $15,000. You got a trailer that is worth $3,000 and a mower that's worth $10,000. Okay. And again, I just put truck and trailer over here on the liability side, but gave them a zero balance because there is no liability associated with those. They are just an asset for you, okay? Now, if you were to have a balance on the truck, you would obviously write down what the balance would be on this side, likewise with your trailer and your mower. But here's what I want you to understand, okay? So your total assets are on this side and your total liabilities are on this side, okay? This is your debt. So here's what I want you to see. So if we add up our total assets here, okay, this is going to give us a good idea of where we stand with how much we actually own. So we're going to go equals the sum of, let's see, C3 through C7 here, and that total is $53,000. So you have $53,000 worth of assets, okay? And your liabilities, let's say you finance that mower. So you have a mower that's worth $10,000 in that example we talked about, but you have a note on that mower for $10,000, right? Well, let's add up our liabilities here, okay? Well, this of course is going to be just $10,000, but let's just go ahead and do it correctly here. Okay, so you have $10,000 in liabilities because you have a $10,000 note on the mower, okay? And again, I could have just as easily had just not even put the truck and the trailer here because they shouldn't even be here. I was just trying to make it an example that if you did have a note on those, you would put the amount of the liability right here on this side. So anyways, you have $53,000 in total assets. You owe $10,000 in debt because you have a $10,000 note on your mower. So how much you actually are worth is going to be your assets minus your liabilities, and that's going to be what we call equity. Okay, so let's just do that real quick. It's going to be C8 minus E8. All right, $43,000. Okay, so again, you have $53,000 worth of assets. You owe $10,000 in debt on those assets. So how much you are actually worth is $43,000. This is what I want you to understand is this next part. Suppose you said, man, I don't want any debt, okay? I want to just go ahead and get rid of this, all right? You said, I'm not going to finance a mower, or let's say you did finance and just say, I'm going to go ahead and pay this off, okay? Let's do that. Let's turn this to a zero. Well, what happened? This increased your equity to $53,000, but my question is how did you pay that off? You had to use your cash, right? So that's going to reduce your cash on hand by what? $10,000. So your cash went from $20,000 to $10,000, and look at the position you're in. There is no change to the equity that you have in your business, but you have $10,000 less of cash on hand. My point being is that is a decision that you are going to have to make and be comfortable with. It is very, very important that you monitor how liquid you are in your business. These are all liquid assets, okay? Your cash, you can do stuff with that. But if you have your assets tied up in these long-term assets, like a truck and trailer, and all your assets are tied up in equipment, that's a problem because you are not liquid. And my point being, I want you to be very careful about not reducing your cash reserves to a point that is no good, that is dangerous. For example, if you had $12,000 in cash and your mower, you had a $10,000 note on your mower, well, what does that do for you, okay? You have $35,000 in equity. But if you said, I don't even want this mower to be on my balance sheet, I don't want any debt on it, I'm going to turn this into a zero, well, you got to spend 10 grand of your cash on that, and that leaves you with $2,000. That is a problem. Again, there is no change in our equity, but what happens is our cash, we are very, very dangerously low on our cash. And while this is an overly simplistic example of a balance sheet, I want you to understand that concept that financing and debt, it is not the devil that it is made out to be. The problem is whenever people use debt as an excuse to be lazy and sloppy with their finances and not figure this stuff out. So finally, the last thing that I would say about, buying commercial mowers or using debt to do that, I would say this. I do not finance anything that I cannot get out from underneath. Meaning that I do not have credit card debt, okay? I can't just sell the credit card and get out from underneath the credit card, okay? I'm building a pole barn at the back of my property. Now, I don't want to finance a pole barn for me because if something happened and I needed to get out from, I can't sell my pole barn, right? I got to sell my house and everything. So consumer debt and personal loans and then financing things that you cannot get out from underneath, that is very, very dangerous. So when you're looking at buying a piece of equipment, I want you to think, is this truly necessary for my business? Does it make sense to finance this? Or do I have enough cash that I can just get it off my balance sheet as debt without putting myself in a position where my business does not have enough cash reserves? That's something to be very, very careful of. And finally, steering clear of consumer debt that you cannot get out from underneath. At least with a mower or a truck or a trailer or some type of a piece of equipment, if you got to get out from underneath it, you can sell it. You're going to take a little bit of a loss in depreciation, but at least you have an asset, a tangible thing that you can get out from underneath. And again, going back to our first point, we are just trying to cover that spread in depreciation and interest. My point being is, do not let this video be an excuse for you going out and getting sloppy with your finances and just saying, well, it's okay to finance all this equipment. No, we want to be very, very smart. My point is that debt is not the demon that it is many times made out to be. If you don't know what you're doing, it'll get you in big trouble. But if you use debt wisely to be more comfortable and more productive, you can really accelerate the growth of your business. Go buy that piece of machinery.